Welcome to the Horr-Gasm podcast, the show where the serial killer isn't coming for you, you're coming for them. I'm Nick, this is my co-host Allie.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us wherever you are.
Yeah. This lovely Thursday.
Yeah, don't know. Yes.
It's going to be Thursday.
It's going to be Thursday.
It's not Thursday right meow.
No, not right now.
Middle of a pandemic. Thriving, surviving.
Everyone who's to do their self-quarantine, they can just binge a bunch of Horr-Gasm podcasts.
That's what I've been doing is, because I'm self-isolating right now, because, it's what you do when your business shuts down is you self-isolate. And, I didn't tell you this. I went to the grocery store just down the way, and there's a guy shopping in a hazmat suit.
No.
I would not lie to you about this. I literally got into my car and I called my parents and I'm like, I just saw some motherfucker buying cigarettes in a hazmat suit.
Why did you not take pictures?
I was going to, but it was like everybody was already like looking at him a lot and he was like very self-aware of what was going on. And it was just like, this is not real. Like, this isn't real. And it was real.
If only he was wearing like a bubble suit from...
right, like Bubble Boy.
No, not so much Bubble Boy, but from Dude, Where's My Car?
Oh, yes.
Those guys, like the Zoltan
yes.
Cult, they have these bubble suits, and they keep getting popped.
Yeah.
I just walk out and go, pop, pop, pop. And they're like, this is China Air. Pop, pop, pop.
Right. Yeah, it was just so weird. I was like, is that where we're at? I don't think we're at that quite yet.
I don't think we're going to get that far.
No. Just going to enjoy sitting at home, listening to podcasts, watching a shit ton of movies, and playing a shit ton of video games.
Yeah.
As you do. It's like, this is like a good, like, this is going to sound horrible, and I don't mean this and to take it lightly, but it's like a good time to have a pandemic, because if it was like when I was born, like in the early 90s, you don't have internet, you don't have cell phones, like what do you, like you have...
You would have TV and those, and radio wouldn't only go so far.
Right?
Yeah. Speaking though of being, kind of quarantined and shut in, Shudder has, which we're not getting sponsored for at all, although if they would, that'd be awesome. Shudder has a promo code right now for anyone who wants to listen or watch horror movies for free for a month. Set up. Just type in promo code SHUTIN.
Yeah.
And you have 90 days of free horror movie goodness.
That's awesome.
I think that's really good. A lot of them are doing now. They're gonna release movies earlier, and I think the Frozen 2, which is not a horror.
Yeah.
Is on
it
Disney
came out
Plus.
early. Yeah.
They're doing a bunch, which is...
That really pissed me off, though, because before all this happened, like, literally 2 weeks ago, I bought it. Because I was like, it's not going to be out for a few months, and I really want to watch it. And then I bought it, and I was really disappointed to begin with. And then, to add salt to the wound, they released it 2 weeks later on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I was ripped.
Disney, how could you?
How dare you?
We don't want your money yet.
Hurt my little feelings. But, yeah, lots of podcasts I listen to if they have a Patreon or, like, an extra subscription-based sort of, podcasty thing. They are offering, like, free 30 days to their Patreon and whatnot. So I've signed up for a few, for different, like, serial killer podcasts. People aren't capitalizing off of, the fear and all that kind of stuff. Because honestly, like, people would be buying that kind of stuff because they have nothing else to do right now. So, it's nice that people are understanding.
Yeah.
Right?
It helps.
Yeah.
You got the more dicks out there who hoard a bunch of, like, the toilet paper
Hand sanitizer,
or sanitizer, and they go and you sell it for stupid high prices.
Yeah.
That's just dumb.
eBay and Amazon have both cracked down on that, though, and they refuse to, like, if it's a certain percentage of the markup, they refuse to let the buyer sell it.
Good.
Seller sell it.
That's good.
Right?
I like that.
Because before that, I went on to Amazon, and I was like, just looking, just in case there's toilet paper, and my sister needs baby wipes.
Yeah.
So I was looking, and I was just like, cha-cha-cha. And, like, a case of toilet paper, like, a 12-pack was going for, like, $80-$90. It's like, are you fucked?
Jeez.
Like, I'm just glad I got a bidet before it was in style. Because those are selling out on Amazon, too, now. So.
That's funny.
Yeah, people were making fun of me. Take that.
Nope, you're on the right.
Yeah.
But, so the movie we did today, we're going to Talking Chop here, was Sinister.
Yes.
And good movie.
Yeah.
I liked it. And it kind of went back to the well of the, maybe a spoiler here already, but the evil deities, evil kind of supernatural
pagan gods. Yeah. Greek gods. There's all the different kind of gods that get in there.
Yeah. And there's nowadays there's more kind of out there of this kind, of villain than before. Like in the 80s for like Ghostbusters, there was Gozer and Zool,
yes,
pagan gods. You said in Hereditary, it's got the same idea.
Yes, they've got it. That is a pagan god. I forget. I literally just looked it up. His name is like Paidon or something, and he's like possesses the firstborn son of families and kills people, and and there's like secret cults that worship these people and whatnot. People, gods, demons. Yeah, there's a lot of demon-y stuff too. I feel like they're very much in the same vein. Hey? Because they're kind of the same thing where it's cultish and people worship them and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Like, also, The Ritual.
Yes.
On Netflix. Which I love.
That was a good one.
Such a good one.
Yes.
I really did enjoy that movie.
Yeah, one of my favorite actors from Downton Abbey was in it, and that's why I was like, I was kind of watching it, and it popped up on my, like, For You or whatever on Netflix, and I was like, And I watched it for 5 minutes, and I was like, holy shit, that's Thomas! One of my favorite characters from Downton, which I did not expect him to be in a horror movie, because Downton Abbey is very much not a horror. It's like a period piece. Yeah. But I was watching it, and it was really good. The acting was sublime in that. Like, it was really well done.
It really was. I'm trying to think, what else hasn't been done?
Yeah.
For, like, deity-wise. Like, we've done more of the more, malevolent.
Yes, always,
deities. Like, I'm trying to think, do something fresh, something new of a horror involving pagan gods and like that. What would you like to see? What would be your, this sounds good?
Well, I really like sort of anything with like I like culty stuff. Yeah. Like, those are my favorite sort of kind of movies, is where, there's some fucked up cult that, like, kidnaps somebody, or, is trying to, I don't know, convert somebody, that kind of stuff. I love those kind of movies because it kind of lulls you into a false sense of security, and then it just gets, like, super fucked up.
You would like The Void.
Yeah?
You would. It's very, Lovecraftian.
Interesting.
Oh, yes. It's pretty good.
Is it an older one or a newer one?
It's a couple years old.
Oh, okay.
It's not bad.
And what's it about?
Basically, hospital setting. These guys start showing up with all these kind of cuts and marks on their faces and hoods. And, people start dying and things start crawling out of the dead bodies.
Oh my God.
I think. It's been a while since I've seen it. But it's got a very Lovecraft, heavy Lovecraft feel to it. And definitely it was inspired by his stories, because it just screams Cthulhu. And,
I love Cthulhu.
See, and I heard that's they're working on movies.
Yes,
they're working on
I've heard
a trilogy of Cthulhu and everything. Like, oh, finally.
Awesome.
Because they've done something kind of offshoots. Underwater has another heavy Cthulhu feel to it.
Cool. Cool. Yeah, that kind of stuff is it's very interesting. I like when they kind of take lore and kind of spin it. And I even kind of like what this movie was, where you think it's a murder mystery for, like, the first half. And then the second half, it's, like, this weird sort of supernatural. Like, I kind of like when it takes that spin, but in a very relatable way. Yeah. And that's, like I didn't like about, what was that Bigfoot one we watched?
Oh,
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one where it was, like, all of a sudden out of nowhere. It was not Bigfoot movie anymore. And it was just like, ugh, okay, but like you didn't give us any of these hints throughout.
Yeah, they
but
added. They kind of
yes.
added right now. It's Bigfoot all of a sudden. Oh no, now it's hillbilly.
Yeah. But where this one, where it was like the whole time it's kind of, you see this masked character and then you're like, huh, okay, so it's just a dude. And then all of a sudden it's not just a dude. And you're like, whoa. Because that's how Midnight Meat Train went, where it's like the serial killer on the subway. And then all of a sudden halfway through it switches to they're actually like a hive mind hooked up to an alien mothership living under New York. And you're like, okay. Let's go with it. And it kind of saves the movie almost, I thought. It was just so interesting how they kind of did that. That's, I don't know. But what would you do if it was if you had to do a demon-y, diety sort of movie?
I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
For scare-wise, you gotta have kids involved.
Always.
Plant it in realism. Like, don't make it too out there.
Sure.
But make it real. That's like a lie.
Yeah.
If you to make a lie work, you gotta have enough truth in the lie to make it believable.
Exactly.
With horror movies, you gotta have enough realism in it to really work.
Yes.
Nowadays.
Yeah.
Before it was like, oh, it's a guy in a hockey mask keeps coming back from the dead. That's terrifying.
Fair enough.
Now it's like, ooh, cool.
Yeah.
You gotta have that more realism, I think, to it.
Yes.
To really make it work and fear. Plus, you know, the mood and lighting and sound is a big thing too. This movie, Sinister, does a fantastic job at that. But
yeah, we've watched a few in a row now with really, really good music.
Yes. And
it just makes, like I say every time, it makes all the difference, honestly. Yeah. I love it.
Well, since we've already talked enough about it already, I think we should get into it.
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right, so today we watched Sinister, which is a 2012 movie directed and written by Scott Derrickson.
Cool.
Yay!
And for cast, we have in the lead Ethan Hawke.
Oh, so good!
So good.
I feel like he's such an underrated actor.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever seen Galactica? I think that was what it was called, Galactica? Gattaca.
That's an old...
That's a good movie. It's like with Jude Law, Uma Thurman, and Ethan Hawke, and it is one of the best movies. If you got kids, it's not a horror movie, but if you guys haven't seen Gattaca, it is phenomenal. I did a book study on it in high school too. That's how much I liked it.
Well, Ethan Hawke plays Ellison Oswalt in this movie.
Yes, the main character.
Yes. His wife is Tracy's played by Juliette Rylance. Mm-hmm. Sheriff is played by Fred Dalton Thompson. Deputy So-and-so is played by James Ransom.
Did they actually put him in IMDb as Deputy So-and-so?
No, but I think in the
the movie.
The movie credits they have him.
That's awesome.
And the son Trevor is played by Michael Hall DeAdero, and the daughter Ashley is played by Claire Foley. And also Bagul. Mm-hmm. Bagul / Mr. Boogie is played by Nick King.
Good name.
I guess. All Nicks are good names.
And Professor Jones that he talks to is played by Vincent He's one of my favorite actors. He was on Law and Order SVU for 10 years. And then he was in The Magnificent Seven. He plays Fisk in Daredevil.
That's who he is. Yes.
Yeah. He's such a phenomenal actor. He's another actor that I love. Love, 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 love. Every time I see him in a movie, I'm like, this is going to be a good movie.
Yep.
Yeah, he's fantastic. I just had to throw that in there because I really like him as an actor. I remember watching this the first time and I was like, it's him. It's Vincent. That I can never pronounce his last name.
Well, if he's who I think he is, he was also, and it's not coming, yes, he was Hoskins in Jurassic World.
Yes, he sure was.
Okay,
yeah. He sure was. Yeah, the guy that was mean to Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's
amazing. He's good in everything he does.
Yep.
Have you seen The Magnificent Seven?
The new one?
Yes.
No, not yet.
He plays the best part. He plays like the old hillbilly. Oh, he's so good. That's a good one. Yeah, that was a solid movie.
Okay, where did you hear about Sinister first?
Well, like I said earlier, this was one of, or maybe I just said it to you. Maybe I said it on here. I don't remember. This was one of the movies that I started watching. One of the first movies I watched when I started watching horror movies. And I just read that, like, some of the, like, top ones you have to see if you're watching horror movies is, like, Insidious, Sinister, Exorcist, Psycho. Like, just sort of and this was just one of them.
Yeah.
And I was like, I read that it was, like, super fucked up. And I was like, ooh. Me likey. So I was like, all right, so let's give it a try. And so I actually bought it. It wasn't on Shudder, I don't think, at the time. Or maybe that was Insidious. I don't remember. But I watched it and I was like, yeah, this is a little heavy for me. There's a lot of death and child death and murder and graphicness. And it was awesome. I just remember I went to bed that night and I was like, I was really fucked up. Like, I was still thinking about it after I went to bed. And that's when I know it's a good horror movie, when I'm still thinking about it.
Well, it's funny how you say it's really graphic when it's not really, isn't it? It's compared to
Right.
other movies. It's
right.
Not. The director, he went for as little to no gory scenes, no nudity, no
Yes.
sex, no nothing, to go for that PG-13. It's like an R rating.
Yeah.
But
it was just like, it's almost, like, for me, I almost don't even have to see the gore, though. But I think it was part of the stark difference before, like these videotapes that Ellison watches is, like, this happy enjoyment and somebody creepily filming them, and then it switches into a murder.
And what makes it work also so well is his reaction.
Yes.
You react to his reaction. You see him grimace, like, ooh. If he's grimacing, what's happening?
Right.
You kind of see his blurred kind of either in his reflection of his glasses.
Yes.
Or it's kind of to the side off screen.
Mm-hmm. But they're also very real deaths.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it's not like we just watched Friday the 13th and Sleepy Hollow. And it's not the last two we watched?
Yes.
Yes. And the deaths in those were somewhat like, oh yeah, somebody gets their head clean chopped off with a sword. Oh, somebody gets an arrow through the neck.
Yeah,
oh, that kind of stuff.
It's very close up and graphic, and you can see this.
Yes, and it's
this
like,
is more,
that would normally happen.
With this, you actually have to pay attention.
Yes.
To see them. And when you pay attention, it's like, ooh.
Like getting strapped to a pool chair with duct tape and getting pushed underwater. Like, you don't even see it happen. And I get claustrophobic when I watch that scene. And I'm just like, nope. Nope. It's just, I don't know. That's the part that really got me.
So I remember I saw it like on Netflix or something. I'm like, oh, Sinister, cool. I'll have to watch it someday, and I never would.
Sure.
I never knew what it was about. I didn't know a thing until we watched it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I'm so glad you kind of liked it.
I did. It went along with the less is more.
Yes.
And music and the mood.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said before, it's heavy.
Yes.
It's just heavy and it hangs and it's always kind of dark in most of the scenes. And they have some of the, I don't call them jump scares, but just like the sound.
I was gonna say.
The sound jump scares where it's like thump. And some of those got me because I get so involved in the darkness. Like, you're kind of almost anticipating.
Yes.
And something happened, you're like, wasn't expecting that. So.
Yeah, I think that this is one of the best uses of jump scares.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call them jump scares because.
Interesting.
Because nothing really jumps out. There's maybe one or two. That's
like the very, very end. Like literally the last scene. There's like, Ellison's just like, or no, they're not doing anything. There's just the box.
Yeah.
The box that says home movies. And then it zooms out. And then Mr. Boogie's just like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah.
Kind of drops into
I'm the main actor.
And that didn't get me. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. But before, one of the other ones, like, I called it, I'm like,
yeah,
he's going to show up. Also,
yeah.
Showed up. Yeah, shit. So,
yeah.
It really, again, it shows masterfully how You don't oversell it.
Mm-hmm.
Show the villain sparingly.
Yes.
And just use the audience's imagination and anticipation.
Mm-hmm.
And they did greatness really well. Really
well done. Yeah. Well, how did you hear about this movie? You just saw it on Netflix?
Yeah. I just came across it. I don't remember any trailers for it. I remember seeing it in theater for, coming soon. It just popped up on Netflix. I'm like, oh, cool. What's this about? I didn't even forget what it was about.
Yeah.
And I add to my list, or I just keep going and watch something else. I knew of it, but I never knew what it was about. Wasn't so much on my radar as, I just thought it was like a direct-to-video horror movie.
Right. Yeah.
So I never gave much of a second thought.
Interesting. Yeah, and I've heard that this is like one of the movies to watch.
I can see why.
Yeah.
It was good.
It's very different.
Very different. Pretty slow.
Yes.
Very slow movie, but it doesn't leave you bored.
Right. Exactly.
It kept things moving pretty good.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah. Right. Should we get into it?
I think, let's start with the plot here. So, it starts off with, we see a bit of the hanging.
Yes.
Yeah, we have the family of four basically tied to a tree around their necks, and we see like a saw cutting this one branch falls, family goes up, and they choke to death, and then we go right to Ellison Oswald and his family moving into a new home.
Like a murder that happened, and then he's writing another book about somebody else?
Small.
But how could there be a murder and a missing girl? You know what I mean? Like, because that's what implied, is that his book was about something else?
Well, this new book he was going to write there?
Yeah.
It's about the murders that happened recently.
Right. But that's what I mean, is like, if it's such a small town, then how do they have all these murders? I just didn't quite get that.
Well, there's only one murder.
Oh, okay. It's the same thing? So it's different than Kentucky Blood?
Yes. Different town.
Oh.
These are all different towns. Like it says in the movie, like the murders that's in the book, or in the movie, all happen in different towns, but they all kind of skip a town.
Right. Okay. So he's
the family that were killed here, in the town in the house he moved into, then the house he lived previously was from a previous murder from the family that was killed.
So he's living in the same houses?
No, just this one. He's just following this one murder.
Right, but that's what I mean, is that like the sheriff was upset that he's coming to this town because of Kentucky Blood, which he wrote previously.
Yes. Or a different book that
right.
He's written.
But he's like upset about it because it made them look bad, or just police in general?
I think it was police in general.
Okay, because that's the part that I was like, is like, how many murders does a small town have? Because I'm concerned.
This one.
Just crazy, crime rate in this one small town.
Just one.
But then he makes like a shitty comment about like, oh, Kentucky Blood did good, but then these two other books you wrote did horrible, so drop the mic.
Yeah.
And Allison's kind of like, oh, fuck you too. Like, I'm not leaving, so... Ugh. And then he's carrying a box inside, and he goes up to the attic, doesn't he?
Yes. He ends up going to the attic, and he finds this old 8mm film reels and player, and he kind of gets his study all set up. Like, he has all the kind of like how and this book's all about the recent murder,
right? Because
no one knows what the daughter is. That's kind of what makes it interesting,
right? So
he's kind of hoping to make a true crime book and maybe even find something that the police missed. That's kind of his hope. So he's going through all like the data that's kind of been available to him, and these reels that kind of showed up out of the blue. And he's kind of comparing like a picture of the empty attic before, which is empty, and then there's this box in it. Where did it come from? Yeah. Like he was basically going through all these notes and writing jot notes of why, how, where, when, all those.
Mm-hmm. And when he's up there initially too, he sees a scorpion.
Oh right,
that he kills.
Scorpion. He just drops the box on the scorpion and squishes it.
Makes it mushy.
Poor scorpion. So he finds out that the previous family lived there with the Stevensons. They were going to hung by a tree. Yeah. And their 10-year-old daughter, Stephanie, disappeared after the murders.
Yes.
And so he's going through the videos, and these ones where you see or he's watching them, and he's drinking quite a lot. And at first, you got the camera just showing just the family doing activities, and it goes to the murder.
Yes.
And he kind of gets more visually upset.
Yes.
As this is happening. And he kind of hears a thump.
Yes.
Thumps. And he goes and looks around, tries to find where it's coming from. And
it's his daughter that she walked into the laundry room by mistake, and she's like, "Dad, I can't find the bathroom." And he's like, "Okay." So he takes her to the bathroom, and then she's like, "Thanks, Dad." Starts walking down the wrong way of the hallway, and he leads her back down the right way and tucks her back into bed and everything. And she's allowed to paint the walls in her room too.
Yes.
Yes, she's like, when they're moving in.
She does not want to move there.
She's so mad. Yeah.
So he's going that night, puts her back to bed. I think that's where he finds the box. Another box.
Mm-hmm.
He hears like this sound, he goes and finds this big box kind of just in the, what would you call them, back door?
Yeah, like the porch area.
And he goes, he gets closer, and it moves. He's like, what the hell? And his son kind of...
Exorcist crab walks.
Yeah, he kind of folds out and starts screaming. And he runs and picks him up and kind of walks him around, gets him outside. His son has night terrors.
Yes. Which, like, when you first see it happening, it's like his son is possessed. You're like, what the fuck?
Well, I know what that was. I thought that was like a creature. Is he hallucinating? What the heck? This just ramped up.
Out of nowhere, yeah.
Nope. Apparently his son just has has a history of really bad night terrors. They were good for a while, but now they're bad again.
Yes.
So Elle that happened. Elle, he's going through different... He goes back to watching more of the videos and tapes, and they include a drowning...
Oh, yeah, the pool party's the worst one, I think. That's the one that I was talking about before, where they're all, like, duct taped to lawn chairs, and then there's, like, a string, and the person behind the camera is just pulling them, and they just sink into the bottom of the pool, and there's nothing they can do.
There's throat cutting, where they're strapped to their beds, and the killer goes and cuts all the throats. And
this is the one where it's, like, so graphic, but when they're doing it, he turns away, and so all we can see is, like, the reflection in his glasses.
He turns away when it comes to the kid.
Yes.
He watches the parents.
You're right.
But then when there's the child, he looks away. You don't even see that.
Yes.
That one wasn't even shown.
But we, as the audience, like, we don't see it happening. We just see him, and it's reflected in his glasses. Yeah. And it's a really interesting way of doing it, I thought. Just because, like, it's graphic without being too graphic. Yeah. Like, because you just see the blurred image of the husband and wife getting their necks slit. It's like, ooh.
Yeah. And we also see arson, which is basically, two, mother and father.
Yeah.
In, like, their old station wagon, tied up, and...
there was a kid in there, too.
No, it was a family of 3.
Oh.
I'm sure it was only 2 of them.
Really? Because I'm sure that there was a little kid in there, too, all tied up. Well, maybe not. I was sure there was, though.
But either way, they get burnt.
Yes. There's, like, you see the empty gas cans, and they're kind of laid against the seats.
Yeah.
And then, I thought there was somebody in the front seat, but maybe not. I might be thinking of a different one.
I thought it was just the mother and father just kind of head to toe, in the back seat. Sure. And then whoosh. One fire they go. Yes. And there was one more. What was the other one? Oh, there's also one more.
We don't see the lawnmower until a later night, but it's a good one.
Yeah, basically, the camera guy goes to the lawnmower, and then you see it kind of running. All of a sudden, there's a head in the way, and it gets run over. And that, I saw it coming. I'm like, there's going to be a head showing up. But then it just kind of popped on over, and it gave me a shook.
But it's like very quiet, and it's just he's looking in the house, watching them hang out, watch TV, hang out as a family, and then you just hear like the lawnmower starting, and then it just like gets dull almost, like it's just like a quiet, like you don't actually hear the do of the lawnmower, and then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, there's a head, and you hear the lawnmower sound, and you're like, whoa! Yeah. But he like freaks the fuck out and like falls out of his chair and rips the thing off, and he's like, ah.
He has a rough time with that.
Yeah, they're all creepy, and how they do it is really creepy. I think just with like the old, what is it, 9mm that he's looking at?
8mm.
8mm.
Yeah. So during all his viewing of these, he notices there's a symbol.
Yes.
In every film, because he plays into the 8mm, and then he records them onto his laptop, so he can actually do more of frame by frame.
Yes,
so he can
exactly.
zoom in on that, and he sees a symbol. So he gets Deputy So and So.
Yes.
To kind of do a bit of research for him.
Who goes on to play Eddie in the It series.
Yep.
Yeah, the new ones that just came out. The older Eddie, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the deputy refers Elle to Professor Jonas, whose expertise is the occult.
Yes.
To help decipher the symbols. So he does, and he finds out that these symbols refer to a Babylonian deity called Bugal. Bugal?
No.
Bugul.
Bugul. There you go. I was
Yeah.
like, why can't I remember how to say it now? Yeah, it's Bugul.
And who would kill entire families, then take one of the children in order to consume their soul.
Yes. And live off of them, kind of. And it seems like the pattern in this movie is he's taking one about every 10 years.
Yeah.
And then, so he's just, I mean, like, once every 10 years, that's not bad, right?
Yeah, it goes like a 10 years and a little more, yeah.
Yeah.
It depends how good the soul is, how long
Yeah.
it lasts.
So we get the scorpion. So then in between while he's watching these movies, he's also, he goes up to the attic again. I forget what he goes up there to check for something or look for something. And there's a snake.
Yes.
And as he's, so he lifts up a box, he kind of hears like a rustling almost, and he lifts up a box lid, and there's a snake underneath, and it leaves. Kind of slithers away. And this box lid has drawings on it of all the different murders that he's watched. And so he takes out his phone and starts to record just so he can kind of see it. And as he's recording, he kind of like, the roof almost kind of falls in, kind of, doesn't it?
He hears something, so he kind of goes over to the other side of the attic, and the ceiling caves in, and he kind of falls, kind of catches himself, then he falls through.
Yes.
And he cuts his leg a bit.
Yeah.
And he goes back to look at the footage,
mm-hmm.
and he sees that there's both a symbol?
No, there's just a whole bunch of hands.
Hands, yes. He sees like hands kind of pushing him through. Yeah,
there's like 6 or 7 different hands, like little, like child hands, pulling him down. So that's really weird. So then he keeps kind of watching the footage, and during this, he's fighting with his wife. She thinks something's up. She hasn't figured out that they're living in a murder house yet. No. And so then the next night, he was watching. He's watching the one where they're hung or whatever in the house that he's now living in. So he zooms in and he sees that there's a face, which we know is the boogeyman's face, in the bush. So he's like, well, shit, I'm going to go, he hears something outside. So he's like, well, I'm going to go investigate. He's looking at this bush. So as he goes out, he kind of hears something rustling in the bushes, and he's like, WTF. So he walks over to the bush, and Trevor's head pops out again, and he's having another night terror. So he throws the bat, and throws his light camera, or whatever, flashlight, and runs to put Trevor inside. Yeah, and he was cold, and then he goes back outside to go get the bat and the camera. Yes. And he sees the dog. Yes. And it's a good little pupper. It's a good little Rottweiler. Doing some works, just protecting his peoples. Yeah. And behind him, we see all the kids. Yes, we see 5 kids lined up. The ghosts, kind of, I guess, of the kids. Yes. And so, they disappear. He kind of gets his camera, leaves the bat. Yeah, leaves the bat. The dog leaves. And he goes back in. And this is when we get the creepy sort of montage of he thinks something's up in the house now. So he's walking around, and these 5 kids are like not antagonizing him, but like following him. And also when he's going through the house, he's checking on the kids, and he sees his one daughter sleeping, and we can zoom on her, and she's wide awake. Her eyes are open. She looks terrified.
there's a drawing of the former family who lived there's death, and you see the girl, Stephanie.
Yes, Stephanie.
And she just does the shh motion to the girl.
To the girl, yeah.
And that was a creepy. I like that spot.
Yes,
that was a good scene where just that the kid's gonna see something.
And this is sort of, once we see these dead kids, this is when we make the jump, I think, to supernatural. Yeah. But I think the very, very first indicator is when he's actually looking at pictures of Bagul, and there's the one of his reflection at the car, the arson fire.
Right.
And he's talking on the phone with Detective So-and-so, and he's just sitting there, blah, 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 blah.
Cat turns away.
And on the laptop, Bagul turns his face and looks at Ellison, and then turns back into the position he was, and I was just like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's always cool how in the movie they break the fourth wall movie-wise.
Yes.
Not for the audience, but for the actual characters in the movie.
Yeah.
And that's always it's a very well-known horror trope.
Exactly.
Where it worked. It worked very well this.
And just that very, very subtle, and I thought of that as well as in Eli, when it's just like there's very subtle things happening. Same thing with Girl on the Third Floor. There's subtle things happening that we kind of see, but the characters don't see. I like that. It's like we have an inside joke with the villain, almost, Like, we know something that they don't. Which I think is interesting.
Yeah.
But
so now we get to that last night where he and his wife are sleeping after he's kind of... She found out.
Yes.
She finds out because the daughter drew on the walls. He said before she can draw in a room.
Yeah.
But she didn't draw on the wall in the hallway of the family who died before.
Yes.
And Stephanie. And they ask, well, who's Stephanie? And it's like, she used to live here. And the mom kind of like ball pops up like, you're kidding me.
Yeah. She's like, go to your room.
Yeah. And then she goes to his bedroom and leaves the door open. Now, all guys know if they go to the room and the door's open, you're in shit.
Yep.
And they had a big fight. Basically, he lied to her saying that this wasn't the house they were murdered in. When true, it kind of is. They were murdered in the backyard, which doesn't matter. Damn, it's even worse for her. And he's really kind of trying so hard to keep this book going because he thinks that this is going to be bring him back to spotlight, because before, from his other book, Kentucky Blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got lots of money, he got interviews, and then his next two ones bombed. He's trying to get money back. He's doing bad for money.
Yes, and he's trying to find that, I think, sense of validity as well.
Yes.
What he got from, because he's like one of those people who we see is watching his old interviews when the book came out and it was #1 on the New York bestseller list. So he's kind of always trying to reach that level again, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after that, he kind of his wife knows he falls asleep watching his old interview about family and having kids, and she's like, "Oh, okay, I'm sorry." And he wakes up to the projector going again. Mm-hmm. And he's like, "What the heck?" And he goes and he sees this missing where it was.
Yes.
And he goes looking for it. It's in the attic.
Yeah.
So he kind of peeks at the attic. He's all the kids watching. They do the whole sign to him, and then Bagul, stupid name. Bagul kind of peeks in. It scares me. He falls on the ladder, and the projector, all the tapes come falling down from the ceiling, and he's done. He's had enough.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Takes it out, burns it.
Yes.
And his wife comes in. She's like, "What are you doing? What's going on?" He's like, "We're leaving." What do you mean? We're leaving now.
Yes.
And so they pack up, grab the kids, and leave.
Yes.
They get pulled over by the sheriff before they head out, and basically tells them we're leaving.
Yeah.
Okay, good. See you later.
Yeah.
Don't speed until you're out of my
jurisdiction.
Yeah. So back at home, and he's kind of just finishing up. Like the deputy so-and-so trying to call him, he's ignoring it. He's trying to get back on track, and he gets an email from the occult guy,
Professor Jones.
Thank you, Jonas. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he has a quick little video with him, and he talks. Well, he basically explains what Bagul is. and how he can enter our world from his world through media, through pictures. His children are extremely susceptible to such things.
Yes.
And he's like, well, if I burn it or delete it, that should close the door. He's like, what do you mean? What kind of book you write? He just kind of hangs up on him.
Yeah.
And he deletes all the files he had on his laptop, which is smart.
Yes.
Until he goes upstairs to the attic at his old home to put a box of stuff away, and he finds the projector and everything in there.
Yes.
And he finds an extra reel that says extra footage.
Extended edition.
So he goes.
I love that.
He extends. He adds them to the. He does some editing. He learns how to edit online.
Yeah.
Edits to actually put the film together to make it to like how they used to do it back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts playing it, and he shows every murder with the kids kind of walking out into frame.
Yes.
And doing the motion. And each one does it. And he's kind of little, what the heck is this? And
then after he's done, he gets up from his chair.
He's a little woozy.
And he's woozy. And so I make a comment, you can't tell sometimes in this movie if he's just drunk or if he's tired.
And Deputy Soso calls again. He finally answers.
Yes. And
Deputy's like, just so you know, I did some more research, and each family that died previously lived in the house that the ones before them were killed died in.
Right.
So it's just kind of, it's almost like they playing hopscotch.
Yes.
So the first family died, the second family who died, they moved into that house first, and they moved out to their next house, were killed. The third family, they moved into the second death's family's house.
Yeah.
And then they moved to their house, killed.
Yes.
And now that basically puts Ellison's family lined up to be the next one's killed.
Yes.
And he's kind of all woozy, like he's drunk. Looks at his drink that his daughter made him.
Mm-hmm.
He sees some like fluorescent green in there. He's been drugged, which was also mentioned before that all those who were killed had some sort of drug in their body
and they couldn't tell what it was.
They couldn't know what it was. And so he kind of he passes out.
Yes.
And wakes up to him and his wife and his son all taped up with duct tape around their mouths, and they're basically dead. They're going to be dead soon.
Yes.
His daughter comes up with axe and a 8mm camera.
Mm-hmm.
Tells her dad, you'll make you famous again.
Yeah, I'm gonna make you famous again, Daddy. Yeah. It's like, ooh.
Yeah. And basically kind of closes his eyes as she brings the axe down. We see her walking. We see a hallway, which is just covered with blood. And it's got all the signs, symbols. It's got the dog. It's got the snake. It's got the cobra.
The scorpion.
Scorpion. Yeah. And it's got the symbol.
Yes.
And we see the little girl. She's writing on the 8mm box lid.
Yeah.
Family painting.
Yeah, family painting.
Family painting 12. And puts it away. And then as she's doing that, you see there's a video going of the 5 kids watching her.
Mm-hmm.
And as she's they kind of follow her as she walks to the center, and her eyes go up, and they all run away. And from behind her comes Bagul and picks her up and basically disappears, and he appears back into the film and just walks down the hallway.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah.
So
crazy.
He got his meal. He got his lunch.
Yes.
For the next bit.
Jeez, yeah. Such a good movie. Just so interesting. I don't know. I love the formula that went into this. And I haven't seen Sinister 2, but when I think about it, Deputy So-and-so, he knows what's going on now, right? So I'm assuming the second one must be a family moving into this house now.
You'd think, because he's in it. I know he's in it.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know.
We should watch it. I should watch it in my spare time. Now that I'm on self-isolation, I should do some watching.
I should watch.
Yeah, report back.
I'm not isolated yet.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a good movie.
This was a really good movie.
Yeah.
I was not skeptical, but I know everything about it.
Right.
I know what to expect. I thought it'd be more of similar to the what are they called? Conjuring.
Okay.
I thought it'd be something similar to that, but I was dead wrong. Kind of wrong.
Yeah. The Conjuring. Yeah, is more exercising.
Ghost, yeah. This is more just evil, hungry gods.
Yeah.
Which works.
Yeah, there's no exercising happening. It's just they're letting it happen.
Yeah.
Feeding into the habit and the cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I thought this was a really good movie.
Yeah. I mean, listen, anytime the kid is the killer.
Yeah.
Right? I just thought...
And I kind of called that too.
For sure.
I'm thinking, well, a kid's missing, either the kid's behind the camera or he's in league with the ghoul. It could be... I kind of figured it out halfway through without actually knowing what was going on.
Right.
But,
That happens.
It does.
Well, what would you rate this movie then?
I give it 3.5.
3.5? Yeah.
3.5.
That's exactly where I am too. We must be on the same brainwave.
Yeah. The music, again, we didn't really get to talk about it. We did before, but the music, the audio, just beautiful in this movie. It really set the tone.
Super creepy.
Especially when near the end.
Yes.
Like when he wakes up before he gets he goes and burns the footage. Like the music is just pounding and it's just ramping up.
Yes.
And it works because it kind of got my not suspicions up, but my I became leery. I'm like, something's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
The music's really playing off something big's gonna happen.
Yes.
And it did. So yeah, that plus it was always dark. We had to actually work with the screen settings.
Yes.
It was a little too dark at times, but it worked so well.
Yeah.
It really did.
I agree 100%. I would give it 3.5. I thought it was, even the second time around, I almost enjoyed it more because I knew what was coming, so I could look for it a bit more. But yeah, I loved watching it. 3.5. Why did it lose 1.5 marks? I don't know. It wasn't like 100% scary.
It was slow.
It was slow.
Wasn't much gore. It had some moments of being scary.
Yeah.
But it could have been something more.
Yes.
They could have instead of being so tame, they could have really ramped up the killings. They could have made Bagul more scary looking, more of a monster than just a guy dressed up with face paint and no mouth.
Right.
The design was pretty. I guess the original design was look like Willy Wonka from the new chocolate factory.
Oh, interesting.
But that would have been a little too goofy.
Right.
I like the design they had for Bagul. Kind of the dark kind of eyes, no mouth, pale, pointed face.
Mm-hmm.
It was very villainous.
Yes.
It worked. I just think it could have been a little more.
Yeah. Yeah, it was slow going, and I agree with you. Yeah, I thought the music was good. The actors were awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But I just think that they could have, played up more in, like, even the kids' night terrors.
Yes.
Like, I felt like they didn't go anywhere with that.
No.
Like, I understand that they were, like, were they going to do something with it? I don't know. But it felt like they were going somewhere, and maybe it was just a red herring. But, I don't know. I thought that it was just some of those could have been used a bit more. And, like, why wasn't, like, Ellison more aware now that he studied these, that something was going to happen now? You know? I don't know. But that's a classic horror trope, I guess.
Yeah. It was, as good as it was missing a few things, too.
Absolutely.
Like, the fact that the wife stuck out that long was interesting. I thought she would have left halfway through.
Long time ago, yeah.
It has a few flaws, but nothing that will take away from the enjoyment of this movie.
Exactly.
It's so good.
For sure.
Flaws and all, it's a good, solid movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like the sounds really were gone for scares.
Yes.
And that's where the 1.5 is just missing from.
Absolutely.
Just gore. Gore and some more visual effects.
Mm-hmm. And so, what would be Ichabod's Kill of the Week?
Ooh,
Kill of the Flick?
she kind of whispered to me earlier. It was mainly because there wasn't many kills in this movie. She thought the lawnmower
Yes.
kill was it got her. She gave her
Definitely.
She tucked her tail on that one. But
so it was just kind of out of left field where, like,
yeah.
you knew something was happening, but it's almost one of those, like, uncomfortable silences where it's, like, going across the grass for so long, you're like, is something going to happen?
And the funny thing is, you got the lawnmower in the light.
Yes.
And the light kind of then goes away from the mower. I'm like, what's going on? And then it goes right back. And then you get head. I'm like, oh, okay. Oh, dear. So,
jeez. I wonder if he's telling these kids how to kill them or if they're just being inventive
I think they're being
themselves.
controlled. They have to be controlled.
Right? Yeah, totally agree.
Because they said in the movie that kids who are more susceptible to his influence and with his media,
right.
it's much easier for the kids to be involved. So.
Interesting. Yeah, so that was Sinister.
Yep.
And next week, we're doing one of my favorite movies, What We Do in the Shadows.
I love this movie.
I love this movie.
I saw this last year on Netflix, and I kind of knew it was more of a humorous movie.
Yes, it's a horror comedy.
Yes, it's vampires. I love anything with vampires.
Yeah.
And it's directed and starring
Taika Waititi.
That's his name.
Yeah.
And he's great. He's
amazing.
Guy, in the last 2 years,
has blown up.
Yep. He's huge director and actor. He did the voice of the rock guy from.
Well, he directed it as well.
Oh, so he did. Sorry, he did direct.
Absolutely.
I think that was the best Thor movie.
I agree. I think it made Thor a better series. I think that's the best movie of the series.
He kind of dropped the seriousness.
Yes.
And kept with the Marvel's goofy, playful.
Like not taking itself so seriously.
Yes, not like DC movies. Don't argue about that another day. But I love this guy. This guy, he's
everything.
Stupidly talented.
Have you seen Jojo the Rabbit yet?
No. I know what it's about. I want to. It looks hilarious.
He plays Hitler. And you never thought that you could like Hitler until you watched this movie. Honestly, he makes him like so unlikable, but in a funny way, right? Because it's a kid's imaginary friend is Hitler. And it's like, yes. And it is hilarious. It's hilarious. He's just, everything he touches turns to gold. I'm serious. Yeah. He's such a good actor and director.
He's got nothing but better things coming in the future.
Right.
He's going to win an Oscar eventually.
Yes.
This guy is stupidly talented.
And he's so awkward. I think that's one thing I like about him is he's so fucking awkward. Yeah. It's like, this is the guy that I would be friends with. It's just this weirdo. You know what I mean?
He'd be so much fun hanging out with.
Right. Oh,
he'd be cool.
He'd be a fun time.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. This episode was brought to you by our executive producer, Ichabod. We hope you enjoyed your Horr-Gasm as much as we did. Don't forget to rate, download, and subscribe. Also, like and follow us on Facebook at Horr-Gasm Podcast, Instagram at Horr-Gasm, Twitter at Gasm Horror, and YouTube at the Horr-Gasm Podcast. If you have a movie you'd like us to review, this is the best way to let us know. We hope to see you again next week because we have such sights to show you and plenty of Horr-Gasms for you to experience. Bye.
Bye.